What's up, guys? This is Ryan Fee for UpswingPoker.com, and what I'm doing right now is playing two tables of 50 cent $1 on ACR, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a preview or a teaser for the type of content that's going to be in the lab. The lab was given like a full this full A to Z spectrum of all the stuff that you would need to know in order to play poker, and it's sort of like a very practical strategy, something that anyone could sort of implement. It has, all the bells and whistles that you would need to sit down and know what to do in the overwhelming majority of spots in the game. And part of the lab is we have our whole strategy, but then we also have some video tying it together, and we have a couple hours of it, and we'll be adding more sort of as time goes on. And and what you're going to watch now is just a quick preview of what that video will look like. So one of the things about the lab, and maybe you guys have downloaded them, is we have these pre-flop charts, what hands to play from what positions when the action folds to you. We also have these are different, and it says it up here: BB versus cutoff raise and button versus cutoff raise, so on and so forth. These are different ranges of how to play versus 3-bets or somebody else's raise, something like that. That we also have that I've sort of ripped out of the lab that I'm using, that I use when I play normally when I play high stakes, and then I'll be using in this video and in the videos in the lab to really show you guys how everything ties together, and the importance of the information of the material that's in the lab. Using these charts, and I'll talk about it more in the video. Using these charts is like, if you just go from not using them, if you take nothing else from this, you just go from not using them to using our charts and thinking about and focusing in on the different hands there, and thinking about sort of like what are your bluffs, what are your value bets, where are you at in your range. You're going to show an immediate improvement, because most players just don't, even at high stakes, just don't do that. They just, for whatever reason, just haven't figured that out yet. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of things here at Upswing. That sort of very analytical, sort of broken down nature of explaining the game and how things fit together, and being able to see, like, okay, I'm doing this, sort of why is this working, why is this not working, we think is what's given us a big edge and helped us win a lot of money over the years playing poker, and that we think that can really help you guys make money playing poker. Is that we're not field players at all. We're very math, logic oriented, that we sort of play in such a way that can be articulated and explained to anyone else. So yeah, that's definitely one of the cool things about the lab. The cool thing about this video is that we'll really be able to break down my thought process, and then when you're sort of in similar situations, so long as you have a commitment to the material, you can make some seriously winning plays. So if you see these two tables here, we have some color, these small color boxes in the corner of the player's name. That just lets you know what type of player they are. So the yellow notes tend to be more grinders, or sort of serious players. That probably, a good way to know that is if they play on several tables at once. Chances are they're a serious player that has at least some sort of solid strategy going on. Whereas the green notes are more of your recreational players. They play in a more speculative, sort of funky manner, and generally tend to be more losing players. Only play one table at a time, things like that. And then the orange note are these guys that have, I think there was a Spanish, in the Spanish poker forums or something, there was a book, a book that taught you how to play short stack. So there's some from Spain, some from Russia, some from all over, that play a short stacked poker strategy, and they play in a specific way. I talk about it more in the videos in the lab, but yeah, I have them orange note just to sort of keep tabs on them. Anyway, so here with Queen Jack, pre-flop versus recreational player, easy call. Post-flop, I'd rank this as a category 1 hand. If you've bought the post-flop engine, you probably know what that is. If not, we have we use four categories for each hand: category 1, value bet; category 2, check or call; and category 3, which is bet or raise as a bluff, which corresponds sort of to category 1 value bets, and then category Category 4, which is just weak hands, we just give up. So pre-flop, this hand's a Category 2. When he raises, when he checks the flop, I think this hand is strong enough to turn into a Category 1 value bet. I can't see him checking a hand like King Jack or Pocket Kings on the flop, really. I think he'd mostly bet those. So we bet. On the turn, the King, maybe he has Ace King, maybe he has King 7, but otherwise, we still have the best hand, so I think our hand's still Category 1 and strong enough to continue to value bet versus a hand like 8 or worse Jack or 7x, maybe even Ace High. And then on the river, we river 2 pair, and even though a lot of things get there, it's the river could potentially be considered a thin bet because many hands get there, like a flush and a straight. The thing is, I don't really think that he has very many of those hands, and he is a recreational player, and he could have had Ace King, and I just think it's unlikely that we're beat, and I think that he could maybe do something fishy and hero call us. So yeah, I don't mind going for what is a somewhat risky bet. Here with Ace Jack, the middle position player opens, and we have a close decision. We could fold or re-raise this for the purpose, which we'll often do with our worst offsuit ace that we play. For instance, Ace 10 we would fold, so Ace Jack, Ace Queen we would always play, and then so Ace Jack, like maybe we play, maybe we don't. There we decided to play it. We talked a bit about bet sizing, but in general versus 3x opens, we like to 3-bet set. 9 big blinds in position. So yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. And if we look at, let's see, here's the button versus cutoff range. The range of hands we'll play here, because we're the button, he's the hijacker, the middle position player, will actually be a little bit tighter. But yeah, as you can see, the red hands are raised, the green hands are call, and the purple hands are fold. As you can see, Ace Jack is a play there, as well as like a number, sort of a number of these suited hands. We could have just as easily dumped Ace Jack. It, could really sort of go either way. But yeah, I think so. Like this is sort of our in position 3-bet range. But then if you go here, so this actually doesn't have a title, but I believe this is our small blind 3-bet range, or small blind continue range versus a button open, where it's actually all all 3 bets, because we found that calling hands out of the small blind ends up being sticky because you're also 3-betting a number of hands versus the button open. It's not really necessary. Like you're not really giving up that much by calling, and we've 3-bet basically our entire small blind range versus button opens to great success. It's not really imperative that you call there. I think you can easily 3-bet and then 3-bet whatever hands you want to play, and then deny many button opens, and also protect yourself by 3-betting. You're oftentimes blowing out the big blind, whereas if you were to call, the big blind would oftentimes be getting good price to sort of come along as well, and now all of a sudden you're out of position versus 2 players, and that can really hurt the profitability of a number of your hands. So alright, so we are in the small blind with Jack 4 suited. Nope. Not strong enough to raise, so we'll let it go. Also, that's maybe a wise decision, because Meta War is he's willing to 3-bet us quite wide. So since we would raise and then fold Jack, we would fold Jack 4 suited to a re-raise. It's like sort of hands along that margin, more our marginal hands in general. We want to avoid playing those versus the guys that are going to be 3-betting a wide range, because we would end up just raise folding, and that's going to deny the profitability of that hand. Queen 7 versus ND runner. He's limping. He's been limping a decent amount. We're obviously going to complete and come along. We flop a Category 2 hand, although chances are we're just checking sort of all, because we're out of position, we might just check all of our hands on the flop. On the turn, because of the king, I would say we're probably still Category 2. Either player could have just made a king, so I don't think if we bet and then bet the river, I don't know if we're really going to be called by that many worse hands. Versus a bet, at this point we basically lose to a king and a king only. ND runner has been limping a lot of hands, and I don't know, a king. Should we play? I think he's just going to always check the river, so we're just going to bet. So yeah, when he bets, he could have a king. I'm not entirely convinced that he actually has a king when he bets the turn, although if he calls us, he will. I think on the 7 river, he's just basically never betting. Even if he does have a king, I think it'll just almost always show it down. So I think we just sort of have to lead and just hope that it's one of those spots where he has a king, or maybe he has 5s or ace high and just decides that we have a misdraw and wants to call us down. So let's see, XX limp calls. I think this is pretty clearly a category 3 hand. We turn a straight draw on a 9, a 10, and an ace. And then a king's obviously a very good card for us. A jack's a very good card for us. And we make it a little bit less likely he has a hand such as king, queen, king, king, queen, queen, jack, which are hands that he would be calling down 3 times with. Again, if you bought the post-flop engine, you know about the way we play. It's like if we start betting a situation, chances are we want to follow through and bet all streets. We think a big mistake the players make this to sort of twofold. The first thing is they bet too many hands out of position, and then this and sort of it's a problem of that, and a problem of just betting too much in general is they end up checking the turn too often. And I think it takes a lot of hands and then makes them just be played inefficiently. And that's one of the things we talk about in the lab. We talk about, sort of a more complex way of... It's complex, but it's very easy to the way we lay it out would be very easy to understand. There's a lot of, the language was made to be easily understood, and there's all kinds of, pictures and infographics and charts, or graphs that show you, hand charts, that show you what... sort of what's going on in a very clear, concise manner. And seriously, just going through a poker player of sort of any caliber, just going through that stuff and then seeing how, our sort of fundamental approach to the game will immediately improve and definitely, take their game to the next level. If anything, just to start thinking about some of the things, the way that we view things or look at things. So here, King Deuce, sort of close. We're getting 5-1. We don't have a great hand in the rake. Kind of sucks, but because the small blind is a recreational player, we're gonna make a sort of loose call here. Again, because of the rake, it's a min raise, so I want to play a lot of hands because I'm getting great pot odds. But because of the rake, I'm a little bit concerned about how much it's going to cut into our win rate. But when the recreational player gets in there, I'm more willing to just play pots with him because make mistakes in a variety of different ways. And again, getting 5-1 pre-flop means that we need less than 20% equity in that pot in order to profit. So, and he leads the turn, which could really be anything. I actually think it could really be any hand, and then gets raised. I will say I'm a little bit. I don't know, something about that bet to me strikes me as like, I don't know if he's really got that strong of a hand here. And then gets raised, and I don't know what. I'm just gonna hope and pray that Billion had sixes, because otherwise I don't know exactly what he would have, or what I don't know if really much makes sense to play it that way. So, but he might. He could have easily had sixes, and I've been playing with Billion for a little while now. I've made, again, like I said, I made a couple hours of video. Doug's gonna make a couple hours of video for our first, for a module that's gonna be uploaded to give you guys sort of the play and explain experience. And he's done a couple of things that are kind of aggressive that I was, I don't think I ended up seeing his hand, so I can't say, but I thought he was maybe messing around a little bit. But yeah, in that hand, he could have had anything. He could have checked back a jack and then raised the turn and just thought that XX was weak and would bet 3-bet his good hands, and if he called that, if he had a hand like queen jack, he was always good. Multi-way pots are weird. They're tough to bluff. That said, I think this is fine to bet the flop with. Andy Runner had led some strong hands previously, so his check there might represent a tremendous amount of weakness. Also, in general, he's been playing very loose, and this is a tough board for him to coordinate with to have much of anything. And Billion's again probably overcalling with a lot of hands. I want to have some hands to bluff the flop with. Jack 9 is going to have a tough time to check the flop and win. So, I think that it. Okay, we have to shove this. Let's hope that this goes well. But I think that we have to. We just sort of have to bet there because we need that hand into home. Meta War. Who knows what's going to happen here? But he's been all right. Well, that's very unfortunate. But he got him. Yes. He's been showing a willingness to 3-bet very speculative hands. He 3-bet a 10-7 offsuit out of the big blind versus my small blind open before. So I just I can't in good conscience make a fold of a pocket pair in that situation. I think I just have to be willing to gamble, and whatever happens happens. believe this is just a fold. We could really do whatever with this hand. All right, is this? I think we're sort of nearing the end of this. All right, well, this will be it. All right, this is a call. We're gonna 3-bet ace-5 suited just because, and this is something that I go into like a little bit more depth about. Ooh, good turn. Should we lead this? Nah. Because it's on the loose side, but I'll sometimes take hands that are sort of right along the margin, and turn those into raises pre-flop. Hang on, I think I have to bluff this. Yeah, I definitely have to bluff this. Yeah. It's very difficult for him to have a 9. He needs exactly 9s, 8, 9, or 10, 9, all of which he needs to have the suited combo of, and there's just like not very many of them. And I'll have a number of 9s in my range. I'll have possibly 10, 9. I might raise a turn with that, but I'll have 7, 9, 9x of clubs, 8, 9, 9, 6, I guess. So yeah, I think I credibly rep it, and I think if he has a hand like Jack 10 or even a hand like 2 pair, I think he's in sort of a tough spot. So I think that it's reasonable and credible for me to rep the bluff there. Anyway, I hope you guys like this. If you have any questions, feel free to send me or send one of us an email. I'm sure I'll get to it, and let me know what you think. We really appreciate your guys' feedback, and I hope you guys check out the lab. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.